I will have to cut that video because I saw a black cat and then it occurred to me that, but also the neighbor has a black cat. It's just that I saw this little black cat behind here and I never saw the neighbor's one here. But then I saw the cat of the owner of the house, so maybe it was the neighbor's cat. Anyway, I will have to cut the other video and make a part one. But to come back to the Kurds and the Ukrainians and Inish Foal, I am in support of, yes, that they can defend themselves at home. And if we were bombed from our governments, of course we will have to do the same in a war situation. I mean, which I don't wish anybody. And so Inish Foal is to welcome them here in Europe out of the war and give them the ability, especially starting from the mothers and the children that are the ones that I believe that we should all welcome first, and that all the visas should be given to the women first. I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't bring their husbands, but yeah, there should be like a more focus on women and children, like when there was the Titanic, and in the movies they say the women and the children, and you know, and husbands had to give up for other women and children because it's more important to save the mothers and the children. It's what they did in the Titanic, and what I think it's right. It's the law of nature. So if men don't understand it, it's because they are very separated from the law of nature and they have forgotten what the roles are. I'm not talking about gender roles, but I'm talking about the fact that it is only women that can give life. So there is a priority that I recognize in mothers and children. And from that, like, to turn my house after all that all the abuse that I got in my homes, because all my assaults that I was recording and taking out files and files to bring to the police and to the court in preparing my defense, because I mean, to try and psychiatrize a woman that is victim of stalking as paranoid. Who wouldn't be paranoid after that? But what the guy has done, it's exactly what the stalkers wanted to do. So and what they will try to do with every victim, that is basically to isolate you so that there is no more proofs that it is happening, that so nobody can say, oh yes, I saw it, and everybody can turn their head, because what society is becoming, it's like the song, how many times must can a man turn his head and pretend that he just didn't see? If already in the times of blowing in the wind it was so common and only few people wrote it in the songs, now it's even embarrassing to sing it and write it in the songs. I mean, I should have photographed the stupid face of a young girl that was passing by the court as I sang, and all the arrogance and silliness, like, in this face that was so judgmental, like, and laughing and mocking like children can do sometimes, be mean, and they don't realize, you know, like, that whoever is doing a hunger strike and singing in front of the court and doing a clown in a way to express their voice, they're not there for a joke, because nobody likes the attention. It's a huge challenge, and after 2 hours I'm utterly exhausted. just even if I sit there in silence, because it takes a lot of courage to stand there in front of everyone's indifference and just stand there for your opinion. What I want to talk about today is, however, to not let people tell you what to do, and I tell you why. When you survive after an assault, you need to learn to listen to yourself, because you are the only source of healing for yourself. In learning to hear what you want and what you need right now, it is only you who can know. And it's your body that needs to know that, because for everyone is different. So you need to decide if you go to the police or not. And if someone tells you not to go, don't listen to them. Don't talk to them. Don't remain open to them. My father was one of them, and he had good reasons, because the police did horrible things to my father. So you're saying it's worse. But it is just his experience, and what he doesn't understand is, no, it's not worse. For a woman that has been assaulted, you have to go to the police immediately. You have to call them immediately, because if you don't, that assault will disappear. So when you find yourself in court against the offender who is slandering you, you do not have the proof that he assaulted you first. Like it happened to me, because my police report was deleted from my records mysteriously. We don't know what happened to it. You know, at the same time as that the cat one has gone in the name of the landlady. And not to call the police again that time, because I did call it, but I was screaming so hard that they couldn't understand the address. The fact that I didn't call them right back, because I wanted to be able to enjoy the rest of the day, which I didn't anyway. It was the 25th of December. Marked the fact that after that, when she came back home, I closed myself in, and she called the police against me, saying that I stole the key, and that went in the summons to evict me. So basically that assault, well, it wasn't an assault in the sense that he assaulted me, opened the door me, but that was still an assault, because it was an energetic assault, and it was a physical assault into my space, onto my body. It caused me an injury that is still visible on my forehead, and that was assessed by a doctor that wrote what a surgeon that decided to pay for the head scan after assessing it. So you cannot say that it didn't happen, because the hospital paid for something, for something that they consider to be a risk. If there had not been injuries on my head, if there hadn't been confusion and she did a visit, it's not something that you can pretend. But you didn't even read the papers, and the doctors don't say what you want, they say what they want. So it's important, in my opinion, to go to the police and to call them, even if the police are not always good, and there is police that is also in the rape culture, like the police itself has denounced in England, in the UK. But if there is people in the police that have left for that, it means that it's not all the police that is like that, right? I mean, it's people, it's just normal people, the police. It's not that the police is all bad or is all good. It's just like people. and there is all kinds of people everywhere, and people that do the police job for any kind of reason, including trauma, like that woman, Barbara, that woman that told the story of being the reincarnation of Anne Frank on the internet, on YouTube. She became a horse policewoman because her terror of the police was such, and having to deal so much with the police, that she felt that she was going to be brought to suicide by the same people that she remembered to have seen in her past life when she was killed as Anne Frank. And she made these amazing documentaries in which she recounts it so well that it is impossible not to believe her, because she's just so honest and straight and so simple. And basically she was taken by her parents to Amsterdam when she was a little girl because she remembered being Anne Frank, and her parents didn't believe her. And she was surprised that the teacher would talk about her diary when it was something private to her. And so she was just understanding that it was a life before her life. And when she was taken to Amsterdam, the parents said, well, let's take a taxi to go to Anne Frank's house. And she said, no need, it's just behind the corner. And then they went there, and she took them there, and she remembered exactly where it was, and the parents started to understand that she was not playing it up. And then she went to her room where she lived, where she shared with her sibling, and she was looking at the walls, and the mother said, what are you looking at? And she was, well, at the pictures of the stars that they put there at the time when I was living here. And the mother could not see nothing on the wall, could not see anything on the wall. So the mother asked, were the pictures here? And the lady that worked there, she said, the staff that worked there said, yes, there were the pictures of the stars that Anne Frank was, like the movie stars and singers, and that Anne Frank used to look at. I have on the walls, and we have to take them off to clean them and put them on the glass. So it's and so she recounts that she was so overtaken and overwhelmed that she walked outside and fainted, because when she was again on the footsteps, she saw the two men taking her away. And she recounts of how these two men were persecuting her in her present life, and would have led her to her suicide. And so she decided to become a policewoman to overcome her fear of the police. I guess maybe these men were police. She's not very clear about it. Probably she had the reason. She died recently, and her second name was Margaret. And the reason why I say this story is to not let anybody tell you what to do. Because imagine if a mother, instead of understanding her, her father understood her and didn't want to talk about it again because he was not a hippie and didn't like the idea of talking about reincarnation. But imagine if she had been psychiatrized for remembering a past life, and for being traumatized and making connections to past lives. Imagine if on top of the trauma, because it must be horrible to remember being Anne Frank, to remember anything as traumatic as that, and to be able to describe it so vividly since you are a little girl, because it just doesn't go away. So just imagine being, and speaking about it, not because you want to show off, but just because it doesn't go away and it feels the same as a present life. There is a lot of people with ADHD that have this sense of a time continuum. Like if the bodies are just clothes that you change, it's just a change of dress. Like in the book by Virginia Woolf, that is Orlando, that the son of Vita Sackville West, if I'm not wrong, that was Nicole, I don't remember his name, but he wrote a portrait of a marriage and said that Orlando was the biggest love letter ever written in the history of literature, or at least of English literature. I think he said something like that, and it was complementary to the story of Virginia Woolf with Vita Sackville West, because they had an affair. And the reason why I'm saying this, the past life things, yes, that they have, people with ADHD have a strong sense of time as a continuum, and so a remembrance of past lives. In the UK, there is much more acceptance about past lives beliefs, because there is like a big PLT association, of which I became part in 2008, of course. I did the course and everything, and then I did the clinical hypnotherapy course. And the reason why I'm talking about all these is that when you face deep trauma, a lot of us that are past life regression therapists believe, and it's a personal belief, it's not a thing of folly, and otherwise there wouldn't be the PLTA in England, the past life association therapy. In clinical hypnotherapy, because I also learned clinical hypnotherapy and did the counseling course, and what used to be an accredited hypnotherapist, I just interrupted doing that because I wanted to become a historian and anthropologist. So I had to dedicate to something else. But we often say that when you afford trauma and you do regressive hypnosis, you don't know how back you can go. So when they were doing the course in clinical hypnotherapy, they were telling us that did the course also in past life regression hypnotherapy, that sometimes you find a client that is describing a past life event during a life, like a past regression, because when you do hypnosis, you will try and bring the client to the origin of the trauma to understand, especially like when you treat phobias. If you're treating phobias, you want to know what is the origination of your fear for spiders, of your fear for public speech, of your obsession for smoking, of your addiction for food. What is the origin of it, so that you can get rid of it with positive triggering and basically scripts that are inducive of positive responses when you are facing the issue that is struggling for you. And so it is important, like when you do hypnosis, to leave that person, that survivor, free. You shouldn't give them advice at all. Just shut your bloody mouth up. Just shut up. Silenzio. Listen what they need. Don't tell them that what they need, because you are doing the damage there. That survivor is like a child. My mother used to say, children are like white wolves. Be careful when you are around them. Because I used to be like, my first job was nursery school teacher, and we had nursery school, and then I also did primary school, and then I went to higher education teaching higher education, and children are still my favorite, and they are white walks. They are very influenceable, so you have to be gentle with your words. Because if there is a child that is very sensitive and you tell them, oh, you have to learn this language and you mustn't learn the other language, or you have to study this and you mustn't study that, and you want to tell them what to do, no, you want to put the dreams of yours on your children. You want them to be a ballerina or an engineer or whatever you are, and then you're going to insult them if they're not like you. I mean, I don't know if you ever experienced that, but it's terrible. And if your mama is an hippie, it's not better because she has good ideals that are better than everyone else's, like the hippie things. Everybody thinks that their ideals are better. And of course, the hippies do think it more because maybe of all thinkers, they were the happiest of all thinkers because they were having a good time together, the hippies. I always envied them. But even them, they tell you what to do, and that's just the worst thing by far that you can do to a survivor or to a child or to an infant. You need to leave them free to know what they need, and you need to support them and stop giving them advice. You should watch that video. We should all watch that video again and again. By Rene Brown, Empathy versus Compassion, I think it's called, or something. Empathy versus Compassion. I'll post it below. So, like, you could completely change the outcome of what the possibility for a survivor is to come out of that situation. If you were not there, don't ever presume to tell them what happened or what didn't happen just because maybe your husband was there, or your brother, or your son, or your ex, I don't know, your friend, anyone really, your cousin, someone that you prefer to that bitch that you don't like, but still she was assaulted by that man. It's gonna be so easy to hate that bitch even more. And I'm using that word because I know so many women have used it against me. Because when you arrive to a new community, there is always some asshole that is gonna do you harm in terms of men, that is gonna take advantage of his. It's just normal. It's just what is considered normal. But you as a woman, it's also considered normal that you continue to take crap. And when the social services came, I remember the Anton, and there is so many Antons in social services. They're all called Anton. But that Anton up in the north, I remember him saying that my house was like a work of art, and I was so touched. And then he said about the fact that I didn't want to go out, that because I had been victim there of online identity theft and some ridiculous emails of my that uses text of my book about Avalon were used, still about you should fear the law of the land and things like that, or the curse of the land. I'm always being mocked for the same chapter. It was, in my opinion, the most powerful, potent chapter of all, because there was the rage of the fairy Morgan Le Fay that was standing alone against the patriarchy of the time, that was a raging kingdoms raging war against each other, and mercenaries, and the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings and the Christians, and I don't know, the Armenians, and I don't, not the Armenians, the Sarmatians, and there was there was such a mess, you know, and she was standing there in all her potency alone from her aisle, and that I think was the most immensely inspiring and awe-inspiring as a writer to be writing that. And it has been ridiculed in all ways, and I always think about the naming of the rose of about all those priests killing each other for the book about laughter. And I always think how scary are fairy tales, aren't they? How scary is laughter? In every dictatorship, they have ostracized comedians and thinkers and scholars and people, journalists, but people who had potent ideas or they were a tool of inspiration for others somehow, or they proposed something that was new, that was unheard of, like the matriarchy maybe. So she has to be ridiculed, like Emily Bronte said, that when men write what they write gets judged, when women write they get judged. And I could certainly say that about with 2 trials about the curse of the land. Then you add a couple of threats there. Then you put some malware on her email so her private contents go everywhere. I mean, they did it to us when, not to me, they did it to my friend Elena when we were 18. It was the beginning of the internet in 1998, and we were writing some funny email about her crush. I mean, Elena was straight, but her best friend Gaia also was straight, but Elena fancied Gaia. And we were writing some very silly things about Gaia and Elena, and everybody read it. It went everywhere, and Gaia was pissed off with Elena and myself, who was making jokes about it with Elena in a very silly way, because I was also 18, and if I'm silly at 45, imagine at 18 what I was. So yeah, and it didn't go well. Everybody read that email, those emails, not just that email, all the emails we exchanged about it. Everybody, we went. There is a lot of insurances and companies, and that they write a disclaimer about it, like if you receive an email that is not intended for you, you must delete it. And it's a breach of my privacy to keep it, and you are forbidden to keep it. So I always mention that, because you mustn't assume that someone is crazy when something is happening, something like that is happening, and you mustn't assume that that person are bad either. You can likely assume that they are victim of online identity theft because of some reason that they might or not know, because that's another thing. People always ask why to the victim. It happened to me with the lady who sold me the house, although she did it in a very gentle way, I must say. She didn't do it in a bad way. But this one, my God, my goddess, my goddess. It was like every day. Why are you homeless? Why are you alone? I mean, her husband died 5 years ago, and she told me that she was alone, and she, like I said, I think I'm done with love, and she said, oh, I think too. And, you know, like, we are 2 widows in a way, you know, and for the same illness. But my Helen died last year. I mean, no, it's already on. It's in the 16, between the 16 and the 17 of September, no, October. October 2024, so it's an year and a half ago. And you're surprised that I'm alone, and you are to ask me about it. You know, like when a couple is broken by stalking, how horrific that is, and you even have to put judgment, and you're not a homophobe. Then you go to the police and you say she's discriminating against me and he's a stalker, and the police doesn't even listen to you because they're like friends. I mean, I don't know what they are, but that was very strange because the police didn't even take my report about threats because of it, and I haven't wanted to go to that place again. Then they came to my house with the fake, they come so quickly for the fake and gift there, but they don't let me make, like, they don't let me make the reports against them. So you feel there is something wrong here, and you mustn't even let the police tell you what to do. Like, if they tell you to sign something that you haven't understood, don't sign it. I mean, and I'm someone who did it twice. It's something that you can find yourself very weak when you have post-traumatic stress disorder, and even if you say no and they say sign, you just want to get out of there so badly. I signed the report of the parcel. I signed it because I don't know what she wrote. She said that she wrote what I said with the translator on. I mean, there was the Italian translator. And the most important thing is, don't let people tell you that you have to keep moving. The closer you are to the stalker, actually, the safer you are in a way. I don't mean in the same house, because it's excruciating, even if he's not in my same house, just to be in the same place, it's something that makes me sick to my guts and I cannot function. But like, for instance, today I was trying to go there and trying to go here because I cannot work at home. I got late to the appointment because I cannot sleep enough. Then I wasn't able to work all day here. I wasn't able to do my appeal yet. It's already 9. Because it makes me so sick just to be here, and the library was closed, so I couldn't work there today. But don't let people tell you to keep moving, because the worst thing you can do is to keep moving. It will only spread your defamation. If you think about the ancient witch hunt, when the so-called witches that were just normal women like us, I mean, they were just women that got scapegoated because maybe they were midwives and some died, or they own a lot of property and money and they wanted to take it, or they had a strong personality, and so they were too autonomous and too loyal to their own form to care shit about what other people thought, and so they were bad because that's just I mean, I perceive it a lot here in the Netherlands and in Sweden, but also in England. There's something very similar about these 3 countries, that about the fact that a woman is considered good if she's subservient. I think Mediterranean women are much more assertive, and I much prefer that. Also Irish and French. And if you're assertive is the problem in northern cultures, and that's very difficult to be yourself as someone with a Mediterranean or assertive side or personality or whole of self. But the worst thing you can keep doing, like what they did with the witches, I was saying, is, I remember my ex saying also she didn't believe in past lives, but then sometimes she talked about her memories about past lives. And she said, oh, I remember once being that I kept being sent away from door to door. Yeah, that's the idea of the witch hunt, and that's what they do now when they stalk women. And in all the stories of stalking I read of people that have changed their name, that even bought fake IDs just to try and get away, you know. Try and get away. You do anything. You just do anything you would. You know, I touched my old face once. And the new friend I made in Sweden, when she told me what these marks were and I told her what you wear, she said, oh, you know, you don't have to answer to everything. So what do you ask? I tattooed my whole face, covered completely in tattoo. I mean, I'm still removing it, but this ones, it's nothing. I mean, this is something that remained, but it's nothing. It's just Triskele, but and this is the symbol of Feo. But my whole face was covered in tattoo because I just didn't want to be recognized, and that is what you can arrive to do because of PSTT and fear, and also I guess AST, that how this, and head injury, how this pressures and also different wiring can bring you to of your brain, can bring you to some because you are so sensitive, so much like light walks, that you wanna completely cover, you know, like your face, your name, just be hidden and by yourself, so that when you meet again other people, you are healed and you can meet again, you know. But there is a time that you really need, and my way to cover my face, because when you are exposed, I mean, of course you are even more recognizable if you tattoo a butterfly on your face. My whole face was covered. It was horrible. And of course you are much more identifiable because you need a lot of makeup to cover that. So for years I've been wearing makeup a lot until I could get rid of it, you know. Like, but when you do the laser, when I did the laser here, you cannot put makeup, so everything is visible. Now I don't have makeup on here, so you can see my skin, but before I had to wear completely makeup. And I remember a surgeon telling me, because my nose was broken, and telling me, what are you doing? Are you a mask? It was very offensive and angry. And I was so mortified because he had no idea what was under my makeup. He had no idea. I mean, even if the nose was, the nose didn't have makeup, but even though, like, no, I think even the nose had makeup, actually, where I wasn't wounded. Like, to be judged when you are white walks, to be told what you do, it's what is preventing you from doing, from getting to your center and acting from your knowing. This is why I think it's so important to employ what some people call shamanism, or folk healing practices that are of reconnection with nature and the elements and the waters and the strength of the airs and of the winds and of the gales, of the rain, of the earth, the roots of the earth, to reconnect with things that grow, to reconnect with the bees, to reconnect with birds, to reconnect with life that is growing and blossoming everywhere, and then it's going into the winter and hibernating, and to really go with the seasons and the lineages of the land and the sky that are in your country. This is why I want that Inish Fall is centered around the support of women from an holistic point of view, and offering them the kind of healing practices of their own cultures. So maybe you are Western and you want to go to the psychologist because when you are in crisis, that's what helps you. But you do not tell me that I was raised in a mixed cultural context where the shamanistic element was so strong, because it was part of the traditions and of the people that I've been in contact with. Who are you to tell me that is less healing than your stupid psychologist? I mean, I study psychology and it's a lot of crap. It's a lot of crap. Honestly, a lot of labels, and it's not that it's not extremely interesting. I love reading psychology. I still do. It's very interesting because it analyzes the mind and it offers a lot of, but it's very shallow. It doesn't go past the reasoning and the ego and the emotions. It's not very deep. There is nothing more deep and more psychologist than the shaman, in my opinion. The shaman rituals are pure psychologist performance through theater, through magic. It's magical. I've been to the shamans in China who helped me do like farewell rituals, and it was all about listening. And they were calling, like, she was cutting a lot of figurines and making figures for the spirits because she was going to call the spirits, and then the spirits, all the ones that were not involved, were to take the gifts so that they don't create chaos and disturbance. Then she sent me out and said, call Helen, and I called Helen, and the cows came, and that was her favorite animal, and I'd never seen cows in China before, and I started crying, and the shaman came, and she was an old lady with two old ladies working, and all the candles were on by the temple of the gods, and she held me, and I started crying, and she was like, imagine that this is my head. She was like this, cradling me. And the two women were singing in by a song of every day that was talking like about the boy that goes to the girl and brings her milk. It's like, like we have a song about in Italy about Gianni Morandi. That it's about the boy that brings the girl to milk. Quella che dice fatti mandare dalla mamma, prendere il latte. Sorry, it's very off tune. But it says, make you send it to your mommy too. So they were singing like Gianni Morandi, basically, in Bai, about the milk. And she was cradling me, and she told me, she described, honestly, my grandparents. And she described the garden where I grew up in the palace of my grandparents. And exactly, they described that place in Milan. And then they spoke about Helen, and she spoke through the shaman, and she told things that only she could have said. And I interviewed so many that did this, and wrote about it, but it never happened to me, only in China, that they guessed things like that. This was not the first one that did it to me and guessed so precisely and channel summoned. So it is just pure magic what she did to me in that ritual, because she let it all come out. Maybe the psychologists in the West do the same without hugging you, because there is all that, sanitizing crap about the West, and what you can and cannot do and what is ethical. You cannot go to your teacher to have tea after school like we did when we was young, and play the piano and have cheesecake. You cannot do these things anymore. Now it's inappropriate now. So we have lost so much the contact as human beings, and when we treat with survivors, we sanitize them, and we treat them like they are the problem, and that the reaction to the violence is the problem. You know, like when the landlady called the police because I closed myself in instead of talking to me about it, and we never talked after. And we almost did one day, but I was late, and I missed that opportunity, and we never talked after. And then we went to trial, and it's just horrible. We could never talk about what happened at Christmas. She just hung up on me, and from that moment I became her enemy because she was certain that I didn't say the truth. She was certain that, you know, like the police said, the doctor wrote what I wanted, or that maybe I hit myself, like I broke the car myself, and they stole my grandma silverware, and they stole my cat. And threatened myself, and did break into my past. I mean, people that are ready to psychiatrize you because they want to absolutely believe the innocence of the guy who is making you guilty, who wants you to be the one who is gonna take the stigma of what he did. She will just hate you, and you just have to let you go. Just have to let it go, because I mean, I have started to let it go when I accepted the idea of death, to be honest, because at the point you just give up the idea that you can continue moving and trying, and you just want to stand still for your ideas, whatever that brings, and that can include hunger strike, can include whatever you think that you need. Just don't touch yourself, please, because that's gonna stay forever. And it hurts so much to do the laser every time, especially here and here. Like here it's so painful, and here it's so painful. So yeah, like if you can learn again to listen to what women say, and treat them like nature, like the elements, you know, like we are nature, we really are nature. And there is no difference between woman and nature, and if we can remember that we are not domesticated animals, that if you hit the wolf will bite, and if you shoot the wolf after the wolf beat you because you hit it, you are a bastard, not the wolf. And that it doesn't matter if it's your friend or the landlady who does the shooting, you know, you still are a wolf eater, because what that bite from the wolf doesn't describe the wolf, describes what the guy did to the wolf. And the same you should think about women, as we are wild animals, not tameable little creatures. Maybe that's really scary, like the line that was mocked from my book and used in 2 different eviction trials. I think also to make videos about what's happening helps you stay sane, because it helps you keep a connection with your word, with the world outside, so that people can find strength in your story, but also helps you tell your story without having to go in personal with other people again. Don't tell people your story unless you're really sure that it's safe, unless you're sure that it's safe. Sure, like be sure, because they can use it against you when you are the most vulnerable, and they can do it even when you are at home, when you are the most vulnerable. This is why it is so important that lawyers that it becomes a criminal offense in every state, in every country, like it is in some US law. I'm gonna look it up now and do my eviction case, do my appeal by myself. It's like 9/20/21/21. To learn to listen to women like they are nature, because if you think about it, I'm just gonna make one example that is very good here. because there is the exporting freedom, exporting democracy example that brings back the story of the poor little soldier that has PSTT after causing it to other people over there and probably raping women with other soldiers and children maybe. I'm not saying that all soldiers do that, but I know the culture of soldiers because I happen to know soldiers from the point of view of victims, and they are not, and from the point of view of informant, and they are not nice people. What they do to women, those that do that to women. I'm not saying that all soldiers I've met did that, but I simply don't know, because the ones that didn't all seem to be pervert on the outside. If they did, they wouldn't be functional husbands and members of their society. 80% of 80% of users of child prostitutions are Italian husbands. Thai prostitutions of underage people are Italian husbands. 80%. 80. Do you think when you go to Italy that you are talking to a lot of pervert, both the wives and macabre perverts? Because that is what Italy is. Macabre perverts. The wives and the husbands. Because if 80% of the users are Italian husbands, it means that they are completely normalized and that their wives are cooking dinner for them and sleeping with them afterwards. And then they are going to dinner all together with the families and maybe the municipality, and the assessor and this and that. Maybe they are school teachers, maybe they are priests, or maybe they are whatever. No, priests not, because in Italy, if you're a priest, you don't marry. But so we are talking about husbands that are trusted. So I just keep reminding you that on one side, the double face and how believable they must be, and on the other side there is the wild theory, the nature. And so if you remember that nature, like in Vietnam where they exported democracy, I mean what they did is disgusting, and still there is effect orange, this thing called effect orange, because people have orange skin and malformation because of the pesticides that were thrown from helicopters on the land, and there is still damage still down to Australia, all the way to Australia, and so many surrounding countries now. I don't remember the whole geography of, but Vietnam, a lot of it, especially in certain parts of Vietnam where I was and left because of that, like the vegetables. And so what the land does after a violation, after intoxication, after it's bit by bit, if it's an atomic bomb, if it's pesticides like that, maybe I don't know how many centuries it takes to recover. And the same is with rape, with sexual assaults, with energy assaults, with presence assaults, like when the police keeps coming to your house inside your room, your bedroom, like your bedroom, my bedroom where I sleep, where I am supposed to create, to work. And just people that you don't want there. I don't even invite men in my room just for my culture. Even when I was dating men, I didn't invite men in my room, unless it was like a very good friend that is like a brother, but it's very rare. and you have these strangers in the army coming in your room, you know, and you had a miscarriage because of that. But after that, it's normal to tell you to sign a contract, otherwise they'll send you more, when it's an illicit threat. And that is your own lawyer who said that, because the other lawyers said that. But in my opinion, your lawyer shouldn't even repeat that if the other lawyer said that, you know. Shouldn't even repeat it. Because when you are so vulnerable and someone mentions the police, that's already a threat. It's not a free consensual choice. In fact, when I was in court and the judge said, "Are you gonna sign?" before I started speaking, he wasn't even interested in what I said I was to say. There was no defense for me. It was just the accusation. That thing was a thing to humiliate me. Because if you do not let me defend myself, and before I even speak, you're telling me, "Are you gonna sign?" And I said yes, because there is no choice. Here, everybody, or at least the judge, my lawyer, someone should have said, "No, wait, there is a choice. You don't have to sign if you don't agree." He said that. But after he said they will send you the police at home if you don't sign, and otherwise you get with nothing, and then I don't know what will happen. And this, you know, this will go on for weeks, which is something good for me. It goes on for weeks because in these weeks I have the chance to defend myself. That's what I wanted, that it would go on for weeks so I have a chance to defend myself. But he presented it as something negative, and because my mind was so weak and so walks and so needy for him to be my my emotional support, which I couldn't have because I couldn't call my father. I couldn't have the legal advice of my father. I wasn't gonna call my father just for the emotional support. I wasn't gonna call my father for his clever brain, because his brain was not frozen like mine, and mine normally would have functioned well, and would have said, "No, I'm not going to sign a thing. I wanna defend myself, and I'm going to read the statement of my father that my father helped me write with his lawyer." And instead of doing that, I read that police report that was just stamped, but wasn't as good as his defense and took less time than his defense. And I said that I would sign because there was no other choice for me, because I was forced. Because I was reading this, so they came, but I was already defeated, and nobody had told me that I was defeated. Nobody told me, "No, you're not defeated." Nobody told me, you have a right to defense. No, nobody. And is that fair? Is that not, is that consensual? Is that not duress after, like, you just had a miscarriage because of that crime that was made against you, and used to say that you were the criminal, so it was a false report committed through a crime. So I hope that I have talked about how and in how many ways, when you're vulnerable, they can, if you don't work on your boundaries very, very well, and in making your no and no a firm no, like it's vital that your no is no, how much you can become even more vulnerable, and your situation you can really become a prisoner in every way, like If I had been passive, I could have had even a trial against me, a criminal trial for what he did, you know. So like, it should really be criminal to criminalize people who are recovering from an illness, from an injury, who have permanent disability with lesser ability to or chances or means or to assess legal help, to have support. It should be a criminal offense as it is. And this is going to be the subject of my appeal and nullification of the signature. When you are dealing with nature, you are to let nature do her course, to heal herself. And the same is when you want to support a woman, you're not helping her, you're helping yourself, because when we meet a survivor, they are mirroring the very wound that needs in you to heal, like it happened here. We are absolutely specular. It's absolutely transparent, because I mean also studying psychology helps in that, because you can recognize the patterns easily, but psychology is a very limiting tool, in my opinion. And so you will always meet someone that is specular to your own wounds. For instance, if you are terrified of being suffocated by attention, by love, by control, by whatever, you are gonna meet someone that is terrified of being abandoned. So that person, you will give them mix hot and cold shower, and that person will chase you and love you and adore you, and you will have complete power on them, and that will make you feel safe. But then you will torture these persons, and you will probably have a husband or a wife that will play that role for you to be the chaser, and for you to traumatize them over and over. You're playing out your childhood wounds. So maybe you were, I don't know, maybe you were abused by an adult or something, and that partner is going to become that adult that abused you, that parent, I don't know who, and you for them are going to become the who abused them, so their own parents or adult figure or whatever, or sister or whatever it was who hurt that child, and you are going to play out your worst ones on each other like that. So when you meet someone that have like extreme lacks, or because of maybe they're coming from the war, or they're coming from any situation of distress and disadvantage, whatever it is. Maybe there has been a hurricane, maybe there has been whatever it is that you're dealing with. It is a mirror of something that needs to heal in you. So in traditional shamanism and folk healing, there is always a deep humility in the practitioners. They're never above you, like that old woman, the shaman in China. At the end, she threw a spider on my head, because she says that when you cry a lot, a part of your souls leave, and so when the spider jumps on your head and you do that, it was it was jumping, and then your souls are coming back in you. And it did feel better than I don't know, 2 years of going to the psychology, psychoanalyst, it's called in Italy. It's not a psychiatrist, it's not a psychologist, it's called psychoanalyst. I went to that, and I also did psychosynthesis. I did all sorts of Western and Eastern therapies, and I think that Eastern therapies, like so-called shamanism, it's already psychologists. They are better than a psychologist. And you don't have that transfer, so-called, that it's such a big deal in Western psychologies at the beginning of the 20th century. Because in Western cultures, you fall in love with you used to fall in love with the psychologist, because especially at the beginning of the 20th century, that it was such a romantic, in the Edwardian era. Of course, you would fall in love with the psychologist, because you would make a deep connection with a stranger, and talk about intimate things. So it was kind of, um, but then you have a distance. So it is actually that distance that triggers the so-called transfer, that you fall in love. Because if there wasn't too much distance, like with the and also maybe that there isn't enough age difference. But when you go to that old shaman in China, that uh, there is no transfer. It's just, you're gonna cry, and you're gonna have a good cry, and you're gonna face whatever it is that you need to face, and that woman is gonna help you do that, and then it's finished. It's not like, or maybe you live with the shaman, and then it's becoming like a family member, like. But it's just very homey. It's just very, whereas that distance with the psychologist, it's what actually creates all the tension, that you want to cut the distance. So you want to have intimacy. In fact, the etymology of sex, if you look at that is the idea of cutting, then it's all about the idea of reuniting parts that were separated. The act of reuniting what was separated. So yeah, you would need to choose your own healing, whatever culture you are. So it's for you. You need to go to the psychologist because you are a Westerner, and that's the only thing that you want to relate to. You're an agnostic, atheist, whatever, and nature has no power on you. Okay, well, good luck with that, because everybody needs to do what they do. Maybe you need to go to the city, maybe you need to go to the cinema or to a party, and I'm not saying that if you like nature you don't need to go to the cinema or to a party to be well sometimes. I'm just saying that in nature has tools that humans don't have. So shamanism has tools that psychologists doesn't have, because shamanism is simply the act, like the ancient folk practices in Europe, and that have been also called witchcraft, but essentially is the same as shamanism, through rhymes and positive focus, because the spells are something of magic. Like, I shall go into a white crow, I shall ride into the horned lady's name, until what? I mean, it's beautiful. I'm calling the rain, I'm calling the gales, like you are embodying the elements. It's just the most powerful and invigorating thing. It's something that you can feel again, the strength of nature filling you up and cleansing you from the horrible male violence that was put into your body, because some men just don't like your form. They don't like you to be you. They don't like you to speak your mind. They don't like you to love the way you love. So they're going to demonize you, and they're going to interfere in all your relationships until they're not viable. I mean, they haven't interfered only in all my relationships since my love died. They have, and we married in the woods. We did like a pagan ritual to marry. um, but they have interfered with all my relationships, with all my dating apps, with all my outer attempts online to reach out, so to recreate relationships. So one thing that I advise, as well as finding your own centering practice, and really take this opportunity to wear your sovereignty, to embody your sovereignty, to not fear what people think, your length, your shortness, your rashness, your harshness. Just try to be yourself and to be kind to everybody, but do not be subservient. Do not be any one little girls that you think that they are gonna take you as the little girl, and you do what they say, and that's gonna be okay, because you are an adult. You are nobody little girl. And after I signed that thing, the lawyer showed me where to sign up for the homeless people, and they don't give you a place to stay. They don't give you nothing. It was just like, I believed someone that didn't have my good at heart. They just had the good at heart, making it short as possible in the way that he thought that it was better for me, but he didn't know, because only you know. So everybody's gonna say what is best for you, but at the end of the day they're gonna leave, and they don't give absolutely shit about whether you're gonna die or not. It's gonna be funny to them if you say that you're gonna die in the streets, because they never experienced that, so they don't know how much you might have struggled with homelessness and with displacement, because they are not victims of stalking and hate. They have no they have no clue. People don't know the level of fears that you have been through. So and you cannot imagine them to know. You need to really protect your story as much as possible. That is all the contrary that I did. In terms of individual relationships, don't go and tell people, don't ask for help. They're not going to help you. The ones that want to help you will come to you. Don't ask for help if they don't, because they will say no, and it will only traumatize you further and further. Just cut. Just buy a pair of black scissors, or if you like pink, and cut. Just take your scissors once in a while and just cut around you. That's also used in shamanism and in folk practice. Just even the sound. There is some people that do healings of that online. It's like a modern theater practice to help you heal. It's fantastic. When there is a woman that, and there is a name for this practice, I don't know, but anyway, if you take the scissors and start imagining, cut all these people that say things that make you feel small, that make you feel powerless, that make you feel that how you feel doesn't matter, that tell you that the crime that you were a victim of didn't happen, that the injury on your face, you did it yourself, that the injuries on your body, you did it yourself, that the damages to you, that it's all, they will just turn their head as much as they can. Just keep turning their head and turning their head, because if they want so badly that bastard that hurt you so much to be innocent, they are ready to put you in jail for you to be guilty. And that is what stalkers will do to you. That is the most atrocious kind and disgusting and revolting form of violence of what stalkers can do to you, especially when they are a group of men, and they are in different classes, because maybe you see like a little rat like that lives in a way that seems humble, and so you assume that person to be good just because They live in that humble way. So at least myself, most people assume that someone is good because of that, but all sorts of creeps also live in humble situations, or rich ones. It doesn't matter. It matters the connections that they have. That matters what they can do. And those connections don't need to be the same man. I mean, the men that stalk me have connections, because that is clear from what has happened, like in the court of Taunton. They told my two lawyers that the case did not exist and we had a printed injunction. But what can you do? I mean, are you gonna go to the court of Taunton and say you are all corrupted and colluded, and then what? Go to jail for that? I mean, what are you gonna do? You just have to understand then that, okay, the court of Taunton is corrupted and they cannot do anything about it. And probably the employee at the door who helped me do the application form for eviction, she's gonna be in big trouble and not only lose her job if she didn't tell me what her employee told her. So it's just really scary though, because when these things happen to you as a victim, I mean a non-consensual one, you just feel that the system doesn't work in the way that you expected, that it is not true that if something bad happens to you, you just go to the police and they're going to fix it, because the police is going to help you for little things that they can easily accuse someone that is not trouble to accuse. But if they have to accuse a criminal, don't think it's so easy to catch, to get a man that is stalking you arrested, even to get a restraining order, even to get that report written properly. I never knew that that was so true until, in two different countries, that is the Netherlands and the UK, because in Italy at least it is, they don't do the police. It's not, I'm not saying that the police is good, because the bad things that are in the police are the same things in every country, but it never happened to me in Italy that I don't see on the report what I said, or that I have to sign something. Well, I speak Italian so I can read it, but in England I speak English and I couldn't read it. She made me sign before I could see what I signed, and that cannot be a good thing, that they made you do this. And the same thing happened here the other day. So then they say, well, I wrote what you said. Yeah, but I need to read it. That's the principle of signing. Otherwise, why do I have to sign if I don't read it? You just tell me that you said it. It's terrifying. So the only thing you can do is to stand with your voice for whatever comes, and just be brave, because if you are in this world with that shape of yours, inner and outer, with those eyes, with that voice, with that nose that breathes air in and out, it's because you have a function. Every form of life has a function, and when we stop allowing parasites to take over our light and space, we can reunite to those parts of ourselves that are ready to reunite just for the love. So just don't let anybody tell you what you do and what to do, and do listen to the advice only if you ask. Don't let anybody give you unsolicited advice. That is the most important tool of healing I can give you. And learn to say no, because when you learn to say no, you learn to say yes. And when you learn to say yes, you learn to say no. You need to learn it at the same time. What is what you really want? If you really feel what you really want, then it's easier to understand what you really don't want. And if it's easier for you to understand what you don't want, then from what you don't want, you understand maybe what you want. But you must feel what you want. It's like something from your guts, what you really want. What would really make you happy? Who do you really want to love? Who do you really want to kiss? What job do you really want to do? Just go for those things. What is your greater dream? Do you want to go in the square to blow giant bubbles? Do you want to jump on the desk in the bank when you're working? Would that make you really happy? I had a dream when I was little that I was going to do that. That I jumped on and it made me really happy. It was a lucid dream. Okay, I'm going to work now.